Poe's like a child at heart, and that's my favorite part to play because I've always felt like I'm at my best when I'm having fun and when I'm, joking around like I always did when I was a kid, all the way till now. That's always kind of been my secret sauce, and I feel like that's Poe's magic too. His love and passion for kung fu is like childlike, but it's also super powerful. Mike and Stephanie, my directors on this movie, were so amazing. They're really smart and really funny. That's the key component. You have to have an incredible sense of humor and a great sense of drama and action. And that's rare in a director to have all three of those. And the both of them together having them was like a combustible combo. And I really loved working with him. Poe's got an innocence about him that's kind of fun and ridiculous and embarrassing, and people can relate to that because everyone's got a little Poe inside of them, a little part of them that doesn't know the right thing to say or do in any situation that feels a little outside of the norm, and you kind of root for him in that way, and I think that's why he connected with so many people. When I first heard that they were gonna make another Kung Fu Panda, I was like, yes! Because it had been a long time, and I didn't know if that was ever gonna happen again. I thought maybe that ship had sailed, and I'd always kind of secretly hoped there'd be some more adventures. Because, once you've had a taste of adventure, and you've been on a magnificent journey, you always dream about one more. Just want to get out there one more time. Want to kick that butt one more time. The story of Kung Fu Panda 4, in a nutshell, Poe, he's got to face his most fierce opponent so far, the chameleon. A creature that can recreate any one of the demons of his past, and even himself. And he also makes a friend along the way. He couldn't have succeeded without this new friend. A ragamuffin from the streets. She's a scraper, a scrapper, a survivor. Shen. We've got the best animators in the world. And I was so blown away when I started seeing, short sections of the movie coming together. And, they really don't get enough credit. I get too much credit as the voice of Poe. But those magicians in the art studio making these beautiful backgrounds and fight scenes that are really hypnotic. I can't wait for audiences to see, the latest in this artistry and technology.
I would describe Jen as a fox. She's a very, she's a criminal. She definitely spends her life kind of pickpocketing. She has a wry sense of humor, so I enjoy that about her. Yeah, she has some secrets as well. Jen and Poe meet kind of accidentally, where Jen is in the process of stealing, and obviously Poe wants to bring justice to that, but Jen is tricky, as I would assume foxes would be. The chameleon is definitely the most dangerous villain, and I think Viola does a very, very good job at creating this very scary character. But I think the most dangerous villains are ones that can turn into you, right? And I think the fact that she can turn into anything gives her like pretty much the ultimate advantage. I feel really honored as a Chinese American to be in this movie because it has always kind of honored true things about the culture, and I think done so in a really cool way that as a young age definitely added to the Asian American or the Asian landscape of film. So yeah, big honor to be in Kung Fu Panda. I don't think Poe's ever really had a partner, so it was fun to play Zhen, and see their kind of friendship start budding, because it is unlikely. And I also think that Zhen kind of like roasts Poe all the time, and Poe like totally falls for it. And like, I think that they're funny. I like the way that they like bicker, and I really like the way that their partnership and friendship develop. It is so fun to be in the booth with Jack. I mean, I hope that they cut my feed because I'm like laughing sometimes so hard I can't even do my line right. And he's such a brilliant performer. He obviously so good at playing Poe. It's so natural. So just to see that in person, I think was like really cool.
The chameleon. I wanted to play a villain. I did. I mean, I can only play a villain in my imagination. I try to play a villain at home, it doesn't work. No one believes it. So I feel that playing a villain, especially a no-holds-barred villain that can transform, and to be able to use my voice in that character, it just seemed like a perfect marriage. I think the chameleon wants Poe's staff of wisdom because that would give her the power over everything and everyone in the world. She is extremely narcissistic, so I think that it's not enough that she has the power to transform and influence and lead, that I think that she will not stop until she has godlike powers. And that's when she feels like she would be satisfied, like she's made a life for herself, that she's found her meaning and purpose. You know what? Because they're sort of reluctant heroes. And I think that sparks something in all of us. You know, the part of us that wants to conquer the world and may not have any evidence of it on the outside. I mean, Poe himself doesn't necessarily look like, a ninja warrior per se. And so it allows us that spark that imagination of what we can literally become. And especially as a child, children, that's why we play with toys, right? It sparks our imagination. And that's why we play dress up. And I think that's why I just rewatched it again, in my house, and that's what I felt. I felt like I wanted to be in Poe's crew. I really did. I wanted to just sort of fight with him.
Well, one of the things we wanted to do is add even more action than we've already seen in this franchise, and also introduce there's new camera work that hasn't been brought into animation yet, and we really wanted to explore that, like really cool GoPro type action camera stuff that we've seen a lot in live action films. We wanted to pull that into an animated film, and what better way to do that is with a Kung Fu Panda film. The good news is Poe is going to become the next spiritual leader of the Valley of Peace, step into the shoes of Oogway. The bad news is he's going to have to find a successor and give up being the Dragon Warrior. And so before he does that, he wants to have one last Dragon Warrior butt-kicking adventure. And that's what this film is. Jin, who is a Corsac fox, and the panda Poe, when they meet, it's a contentious chemistry. So she's very funny and sarcastic, while Poe is childlike and a super fan. And it's just funny how they get on each other's nerves. They've got a big journey to do together. And it's very funny how they don't really like each other at the beginning. Well, we're inheriting a world of animals, and the Valley of Peace is filled with geese and pigs and bunnies mostly. And we noticed that the designs of the children bunnies were so cute. They're just adorable with their little ears and their great big eyes and their little tiny bodies and their big old heads. And we thought, how great would it be if these things were terrifying? Monstrous. And so we have these very cute bunnies that on a dime, they can turn rabid and they become pit bulls and they attack. We're all huge fans of the Kung Fu Panda franchise, and we realize there's never been a formidable female villain for Poe to go up against. So we started there. And then we thought, we've seen many types of villains, but we haven't seen one that's supernatural yet. And we knew we wanted to bring the supernatural element into it. So we came up with maybe someone that's a shapeshifter that could change her form. She could become, in a world filled with animals, she could become any animal in this world. And then the next logical step would be like, well, don't chameleons change their look a lot? So that's kind of what led us towards making her a chameleon. And it turned out to be great because, like Poe was an unassuming, no one thought that he would become the Dragon Warrior. No one thought a chubby panda could become the Dragon Warrior and do Kung Fu so well. Similarly, no one thought that a small chameleon could be so threatening and so terrifying and have such powers.
Jack Black is Poe, and he won't stop trying out a line until he's got it perfectly. And the way that his process works is really fascinating to me, because not every actor does this. And you know, they don't have to, of course, but Jack, he's such a perfectionist that he'll be like, okay, let's take a look at the scene, at all the pages, we'll read it through together, and then we'll just do a bad take of every single line. And then he goes back to the first page and he's just like, let's do every single line 20 times. And it's not just like a thoughtless, like, let's just do 20 different variations. He's always thinking like, okay, what is the context of this? Which means like, where is Poe in this scene? Like physically, where is he? And then also he's thinking about the subtext, which is, what is Poe thinking and feeling? I don't know if you've seen many Viola Davis movies, but like, she definitely has this magnetism, charisma, and power to her that she brings to the chameleon. And that's actually where we bring a lot of fun into her character as well, because all that power, all that dynamism is in her voice. And then when we pull out the camera, we see that she's like a little over 2 feet tall. And we're like, wow, that's a really interesting contrast right there, because she sounds so powerful, and yet she's this tiny, lizard creature. But she, there's the comedy of that contrast, but then that's also her sort of tragic backstory as well, is that she has this sort of Napoleon complex basically motivated her to learn sorcery in order to steal master villain's kung fu so that she could become the most powerful being in this world, and then no one would ever look down on her again or treat her like she was invisible. Mike Mitchell is really incredible. He can walk into any room and just like get the party started. Like everyone's just like, Mike is here, and I just think he's a really lovely person, and he has incredible ideas. He knows how to give really detailed notes in every single facet of the filmmaking process. So watching him work with the actors, watching him work with the animators, the lighters, he knows, he gets his hand dirty in like all aspects. And he's really the one who brought me on to Kung Fu Panda 4, so I'm forever grateful to him. For me, the scale of everything in this movie, most especially the set pieces or the locations of like every single place that Poe and Jen go to, it's much more massive than anything Poe has ever seen before, and that sort of scale is what instigates a sort of change in Poe to realize that perhaps he was just a big fish in a small pond before. And now that he's gone to this new world where everything is so massive, so big, he can see that there's all sorts of different people out there in the world, which touches on a sort of sub-theme that we have, that the world is not black and white, that the world is not made up of just heroes and villains. And so for Poe, that leads him on a path to wisdom. He's not seeing the world in black and white anymore. He's seeing that there are shades of gray, which is exactly what Jen, as a gray Corsac fox, is supposed to reflect.